Raquel Shea.
And I'm Jeff Sununian. Welcome you back to another episode of iBerkshires TV. We'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of this week's show, Southern Vermont Medical Center.
Later on, we'll hear from Paula Consolini from Williams College about the Center for Learning in Action, and the folks from Solarize Mass stopped by to talk about renewable energy and solar deadlines for Williamstown and North Adams.
But first, here are our top headlines as being reported by your local news source, iBerkshires.com.
About a dozen volunteers have been working on the first of two new houses being built by Habitat for Humanity in Williamstown, the first home it's built in 5 years. The home under construction is at the corner of Cole Avenue and Maple Street. Habitat officials hope the first house on the Cole Avenue side of the lot will be framed out before the winter weather sets in. Volunteer crew members typically work on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to noon. Anyone looking to help with the project is encouraged to either appear on site when the crew is working or call the Habitat at their office number below.
In what students are calling a racially charged attack, a student of color at Bard College at Simon's Rock was assaulted and has resulted in the canceling of classes for a week. The assault took place September 27th, and the college also found racist graffiti on campus. The student was taken to Berkshire Medical Center and treated for minor injuries, according to Great Barrington Police. The assault is being investigated by local and state police.
In North Adams, the Fall Foliage Festival kicked off with the annual Fall Foliage Children's Races and Family Fair at Knoll Field, presented and sponsored by the city and local organizations. Children ranging from ages 3 to 10 competed in races within their respective age groups that resulted in some photo finish results to determine first and second places. All participants received ribbons, and the winners were presented with medals by Mayor Thomas Bernard. The festival continues through Sunday, October 6th, for the 64th Annual Fall Foliage Parade to conclude the festivities.
The Pittsfield Zoning Board of Appeals is working with residents on Peck's Road to try to hammer out an agreement for a proposed marijuana farm. The outdoor cultivation facility would replace an existing farm currently on site. The plan has received more than a dozen letters of support from neighbors, saying they would rather see it kept agricultural than have it developed for housing. Opponents cited odor, possible crime and noise pollution, as well as fear of plummeting property values should marijuana come to the neighborhood. The Zoning Board of Appeals hopes to come to a decision at next month's meeting.
Meanwhile, the Planning Board in Cheshire is facing a similar issue. Stafford Green Incorporated is looking to cultivate marijuana on a parcel of land on Stafford Hill Road. The board has held 2 well-attended public meetings on the subject and plans a third for October. Much like the Pecks Road project, neighbors are concerned with odor and possible crime issues, but Stafford Hill residents are also worried about the impact on their wells because of the drilling of new wells needed for irrigation.
An Adams man has been charged with the August shooting death of 32-year-old Stephanie Oliveri. Oliveri was shot while sitting in a car at the corner of Columbus and South John Street in Pittsfield. Tyler Sumner was arrested in Adams and arraigned on a murder charge in Central Berkshire District Court. District Attorney Andrea Harrington said, quote, "I am exceedingly proud of this investigation. It has been highly collaborative with excellent leadership by the Pittsfield Police Department."
iBerkshires would like to take this time to thank the sponsor of this week's episode, Southern Vermont Medical Center. Now we'd like to turn it over to Jeff, who met with Paula Consolini and Nathan Thimothe of Williams College to talk about the Center for Learning in Action.
Greetings, Berkshire County. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by our next 2 guests. It's Paula Consolini, who heads up the Center for Learning in Action, otherwise known as CLEA, and somebody heavily involved in the project, Nathan Thimothe, Brooklyn's own Nathan Thimothe. What year are you in at Williams?
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore, so you came in last year completely overwhelmed by Northern Berkshire County.
Yep.
Coming from Brooklyn, you had no idea how crazy it was up here. But we're here today to talk about CLEA. How did it get started? How long has it been around? And then we're going to get into a little more specific things.
Sure. Well, it got started in 2013 as a result of some decision-making by leadership at Williams that we should combine experiential engagement, experiential learning curricularly with community engagement that's extracurricular. And as a result of bringing together the people that have been doing that work separately, we really have become a wonderful force for community work in the region. And the good news has been been that the energy of the students has been, so fantastic. That already was there. It was latent to some degree. They needed more support to get out, and we're providing that now. And it's been 6 years. The students have done tremendous work, and we do some development of programming, and we mostly support programming that students are interested in developing as well. And as I say, we've got something like 40 plus programs that we offer, opportunities we offer, and then we support as many more student organizations who want to just do more work in the community, and then work with faculty as well.
You need that young energy certainly to support all this. And we're here actually filming this in Pittsfield today, and you guys are much more involved in the Pittsfield community. Why Pittsfield? What drove it? Give me something specific you're involved in.
Okay, sure. Well, there's a new mentoring program that's been started over the last couple of years. Pittsfield is a vibrant, larger city than any other in the county. And having watched and been involved to some degree, having lived here for a long time, I know a number of the people that have been doing the great work. You've got a tremendous range of leaders. You've got all the challenges of cities these days. Even though we're a relatively rural region, Pittsfield has those challenges. And our students are hungry to get involved with the work. And having such tremendous community partners here, again, leaders across all kinds of organizations in the region, especially in Pittsfield, means that we have the opportunity for our students to learn. And not just for Williams to be the usual institutional citizen, but to be thinking in terms of how can we work together to help the region and help Pittsfield, but how can our students learn along the way? And so we've got 2 mentoring programs, one affiliated with the EOS at Eagle Street program of the Pittsfield Public Schools. Another one, an after-school program in the middle school at Reed called Justice League. Students got those started. Nathan will tell you a little bit more later about what's been impressive to him about those programs. And then we have other activities, students who've been able to do work during winter study, a student course that's been going on for some time, working with the courts, called LIFT, Learning Intervention for Teens. That's been a class that students have run, actually, under the guidance of a faculty member. And other programming, it's the tip of the iceberg. There's much more that's under development as well. So we're excited about that work.
And you just mentioned about a half dozen things just right here in Pittsfield.
I know, yeah.
And I see you nodding his head. We're going to get to you now.
Yeah.
You showed up last year as a freshman. I'm assuming you came here for some sort of orientation. I don't know how that works at Williams, come over in the summertime. What drove you to get involved in CLIA? I know when I was back in my old college days, sometimes you said to yourself, I just want something on my resume or something. But then you get into it, and it really becomes a part of you.
Yeah, definitely.
What drove you to get involved in CLIA, and what have you learned from it so far?
Yeah, so I was curious. Being from Brooklyn, New York, it's a very different environment. There's flashing lights, like loud noises, all this kind of stuff. And I came to the Berkshires, and I originally thought, this is kind of like a lifeless place. In the midst of freshman year, it's kind of difficult to see yourself getting involved, right? You have your classes.
It can be overwhelming.
Exactly. You have your other extracurricular activities, and it might just seem like a lot. But I was looking at opportunities to get involved over the summer. And I knew I wanted to stay on campus, and even ever since high school, I've been involved in my community. That means like teaching Java to underprivileged bright youth in New York, or tutoring students after school. And I just felt like I didn't have that kind of connection to my community here in the Berkshires, and I knew I wanted that. So I was looking at opportunities to get involved in the summer, and CLIA just happened to cross my radar, and it kind of seemed like the perfect intersection of, 1, getting involved in the community, and 2, learning while doing that. Using skills, using my education to get involved and help out in the community. And so I kind of, looking at that, and getting involved during the summer, I saw that CLIA was like this opportunity to really get involved. And I kind of see the Berkshires now as a really thriving place. I kind of saw it as lifeless beforehand, but everything from getting involved in the elementary school to getting involved with Berkshire Interfaith Organizing. There's a lot to do here, but you just kind of have to reach out and see it. It might not be readily available.
It really is funny. You do see the life in this area, and you use the word involved probably half a dozen times, and I'm glad you did, because that brings us to experiential learning. Yeah. You are getting a ton of experience in it now. You have a ton of experience. You've sort of brought this experiential learning to Williams College. What does it mean to you if you were to define it somehow specifically? There probably is no specific definition to experiential learning, but give us your opinion on what it is.
Sure. I think of it as learning by doing. And actually, there is a fairly sophisticated range of methods out there academically. People think of service learning, problem-based learning, project-based learning, participatory action research. So there's a whole long list. We've created a glossary, which is we share with faculty as well. And faculty have been doing some of these kinds of things on their own over the years. We provide more substantial support for it and help make those connections to help them imagine good community partners and develop better relationships with community partners to help them learn. It really is, if you thought of it in terms of theory and practice, you learn a lot of academic theory, you read a lot in political theory courses and philosophy courses, but the reality on the front lines is often more complicated, much more interdisciplinary. It involves you to use many more skill sets than you initially think. And so it's that much more valuable. And these days, with things changing so much, and with the textbooks certainly not able to keep up with the rapid change, think politically, for example, it means that the opportunities to learn and to create new knowledge are substantial. And our students learning, and we try to remind people of the importance of humility in the face of that. Just because you know something about what's out there in terms of the literature and concepts doesn't mean that that's going to always apply on the front lines. And so learning from the people that are dealing with the struggles on a day-to-day basis or challenged by changes on the front lines that are not even yet represented in research or in literature means that students can really be grappling firsthand with some of those challenges and really speaking back to theory and say, well, there's a theory, but this reality I'm seeing doesn't really fit it. How should the theory be changed? Students become better critics of what they read, and they literally can create new knowledge, certainly new knowledge for themselves, and then also identify ways in which they want to grow their own learning and decide what their purpose will be in life, because sometimes it takes that immersion for you to really get a better sense of who you are. You learn about yourself as well as about the organizations. So it's a complete win-win. It involves a lot of humility and a lot of listening, but I think of it as a complete win-win when people can put the time and effort in.
Nathan, you've been shaking your head. Obviously, you're a big supporter of the CLIA program. Give me some of the community partnerships right here in Pittsfield. You listed a couple of them. How has it impacted you? I'm not sure how often you get to go home to Brooklyn. When you go home, I got to imagine you see the world probably through a whole different light. Just me moving out here, I grew up in the Boston area, which is certainly a lot more familiar with the Berkshires than New York City. But how have these partnerships in Pittsfield impacted your life when you go home and the difference you want to make in your own community? Yeah, definitely. It just taught me that there's so much in community, right? Like, I feel like sometimes when I'm in New York, I feel like there's nothing to do, which is ridiculous. If you told anyone else that, they'd look at me like I'm crazy, right? And it's crazy that I thought that I come to the Berkshires and now I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot to do. You know what I mean? So it kind of makes me look at community in a different way, in that like there's so much behind the front lines that's happening, to fight for the rights of people and help people out, but it's kind of hidden, all right? And working with CLIA this summer has taught me that. And so in particular, that means groups like No Lost Generation, which is a group at Williams that fights for refugee and immigrants' rights right here in Pittsfield. And they work heavily with the Berkshire Immigrant Center to work with them. That group, it's just taught me that it's kind of amazing, right? That Williams College, a college of about 2,000 students, can get involved in something it's a national issue, helping with the global refugee crisis. 70 million people are displaced, right? Kind of every year, and that means different countries, all that kind of stuff. There are people being displaced, right now as we speak, and it's kind of crazy that Williams College, a small liberal arts college, can get involved in something that's so global, and I think that has just impacted me so heavily, and it made me see that Pittsfield, is part of this national initiative to help. So No Lost Generation, I'd like to mention two other groups. EOS, as Paula mentioned before, which Educational Opportunities for Success, helps out with Pittsfield, and also Justice League, which is an after-school program that helps. It's kind of an alternative education program that helps students get involved with their academic learning and social
sorry, I forget.
Social and emotional learning.
Yeah, social
but
and
also
emotional.
social justice work.
Yeah.
Projects where they can actually try to help improve the community. Take some of that youthful energy, guide it toward looking at what are the challenges of this community and how can they step up to help.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's what I moved here full-time only about 5 or 6 years ago, but I've been coming out here for a long time, and I knew Williams College is a great academic institution, a great athletic institution. But it's stuff like this that needs more attention. I had no idea what CLIA was. I kept bothering Greg over at the office at Williams because I really wanted to have you guys on. We just did a couple interviews, one with Beef Fair and one with Berkshire Food Project. Everybody knew each other. This is the stuff that goes on in Berkshire County.
Yes.
You're not a native of here. I am not a native of here. You're not a native of here.
Yeah.
But we've all got involved, and this is what we need more of. We're sitting right here in Pittsfield talking about it, and this is how it starts. It's very grassroots. I'm going to give you both 10 seconds. You're talking to the Williams College. What do you need a freshman coming in right now to get involved in CLIA, a spot where they could help? Each of you.
Okay, yeah, so...
Just show up to the office or something specific?
Yeah, so have an interest, see a need to the community, and decide that you want to address it with your skills. Reach out to me, reach out to Nathan Thimothe, reach out to Paula Consolini, the head of CLIA, and yeah, we can make it happen. Williams has the resources, we can do it. You just have to have a passion. You have to want to get involved.
You know what, Paula? we don't even need you.
No, we don't.
We really don't.
This man said it all.
I can't thank you guys enough for joining us. I hope to have you on again.
Definitely.
Some other time, anytime you want. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
Nathan, thank you. Paula, thank you. Williams College, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks to our guests from Williams College for sharing with us. Now we'd like to turn it over to Tammy Daniels, who spoke with those in charge of the Solarize Mass initiative and their plans looking ahead for Berkshire County renewable energy.
Welcome to iBerkshires.com's The Download. In this episode, we're going to find out how homeowners in North Adams and Williamstown can tap into the power of the sun through the Solarize Mass program. And with us today, I have Susan Abrams, who's the solar coach for Williamstown. I have Garrett Colvin with Solar Flare, which is the provider.
Yes, the chosen contractor.
The chosen contractor, thank you. And I have Adam Galambos, who is the solar coach for North Adams. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
And Adam, can you tell me a little bit about Solarize Mass? I know it's been around for about 9 years. It's a state program. And how did you get involved in it, and what does it do?
Sure. So thank you for having us. So Solarize Mass Plus is an grassroots educational and outreach campaign. We are sponsored by the Department of Energy Resources, the Mass Clean Energy Center, and we are supported by the municipalities, so North Adams and Williamstown. And when our Mayor Bernard was looking at figuring out what the plan was, I had gotten contacted to be a solar coach, and I'm one of the many volunteers on the team to help bridge the gap between the program itself and the homeowners in our city and town.
And how do towns get involved? I mean, Susan, Williamstown has already done a round of this. That was quite a few years ago.
Yes, it was 2013,
Right.
and we did a Solarize Mass program with this, which was just about photovoltaic panels, and we, I think, installed almost 80 systems at that time, we were very pleased with that result. I'm also a member of the COOL committee in Williamstown, which is the CO2 lowering committee that is interested in a lot of environmental issues. And it was the other people on the COOL committee that felt we should try again because the prices have come down so much that a lot of people who said they couldn't afford it last time, we thought it might be accessible to them. And also, the Mass CEC has changed the program to allow us to partner with other communities and also to add other technologies, other sustainable technologies. So this time we are, in addition to the solar panels, we are encouraging people to think about getting a house battery to store the electricity that they collect during the day and then they can use when the sun's not out.
Well, that's an interesting, that's a new development, this idea of these giant batteries you keep in like your garage or your basement to power your house, which is kind of cool. Especially when you think of New England, we lose power during the winter. You know, usually you just say, okay, well, go to bed. I hope you make it through. But so how did you get involved in it? Do you have solar at your home, or?
No, so I'm a graduate student.
Okay.
My expertise is in resource management and administration. So I'm involved in an environmental leadership program at Antioch University. So my expertise is limited as far as knowing the details of solar, but along with our selected partners in our group volunteer base, we comprise a pretty diverse body of volunteers, and I believe in energy diversity. I think that anything we can do as a region or as a municipality or as individual homeowners to decrease our dependency on fossil fuels and increase our ability to get clean energy sources, I'm more than willing to volunteer my efforts on that. Yeah.
So if you have a home in North Adams, what would be the next step? Say somebody in North Adams contacted you and said, I'm interested in this. What would they have to do?
Yeah, so first contact would be to either reach out to me directly, and I can be reached at the email on the bottom of the screen, and I will contact you, or we'll email together or over the phone. We'll talk about any concerns or any information you may want. And then the next step for me or us would be to refer over to Garrett, who's the Director of Residential Sales at Solar Flare. And from there, I think Garrett can fill you in on what the process would be.
Yeah. The first initial process is we take a look at your home via satellite images. So we're going to take a look and see if there is any usable roof space. If you're socked in by trees, we may have some limitations on where we can put panels on your roof. But first initial is a desk aerial view, so we're just trying to determine the site feasibility. From there, we do a remote design using an Aurora solar platform that allows us to design your home, a 3D image of the home, and put panels on the home, on the roof where we think that is the most feasible site for solar. If you don't have roof space, we can also do ground-mounted arrays. So if you have room in your backyard, or you have enough space, we can also put these panels on the ground. And then from there, you're going to meet with one of the solar consultants that we have on staff. They'll actually come out to your home, visit with you, and they'll walk you through every step, every detail that's involved with the technology, the pricing, the return on investments, the incentives available to you as well.
So the homeowner, so this isn't a rental, are they actually buying the solar panels?
Yes, most of us are buying the solar panels. There are incentives available, so there's financing available through private lenders, but there's also what's called the Mass Solar Loan, which is targeted towards low to moderate income homes, which has additional incentives in place that aren't available to other people who don't meet that threshold.
And the power generated, does that go into the grid and then you get an offset? Is that how it works?
So the way it works is as the panels are creating energy, DC energy is converted to AC via an inverter and then fed into the home. The home uses up whatever energy is required at that moment, and then everything excess is sent back out to the grid, gets used up immediately by your neighbors. They won't notice any disruption or any benefits from it. But what happens to your bill is, if you had one of the old analog meters, it would spin backwards.
Right.
At the end of the month, they say your home has produced X amount of energy via solar, and you've consumed X amount via the grid, and there's an offset there, and you're credited on your account whatever you overproduce for that given month.
What is an average home? What does an average solar setup do? I mean, how much do you think you can get off?
Yeah, that's a great question that gets asked very often. It's tough to know because each individual home's energy profile can be very different. You and I may have the same size home in terms of square footage, but I might have electric heat, you might have oil. I might have 5 kids, you might just be living there by yourself. So it really depends on the individual home's energy profile, and we'll dive into that with the homeowners when we sit down and talk with them. Okay. To give an average 7 kilowatt system should cover close to 100% or very close to 100% of your home's energy needs.
Well, I said solar panels have, like Susan said, have increased dramatically over the past 15 or 20 years in the kind of energy they can produce. Are they lighter? Do you have to worry about the kind of roof that you have?
So we take all that into consideration, the type of roof material. So there's a lot of slate roofs up in North Adams and Williamstown. We can install on slate roofs. We will age the roof, so we will have a conversation about, if your roof's on the back end of its life, say 19, 20 years old, we're going to have a conversation about replacing those asphalt shingles prior to the installation.
Right.
In terms of the technology, yes, there has been increasing efficiency in the panels, but it hasn't been like Silicon Valley where, a computer computer that used to be the size of your TV is now the size of your watch. You're not seeing huge improvements in that. You're seeing more or less the same square footage of the panels, but they're just getting a little bit more wattage out of them each time.
Okay. Now, is there anything important that homeowners should know, Susan, about putting solar on your house?
I think it's just a great way to lower their energy bill, their electric bill, and a great way to lower the carbon footprint of the region. And I think, personally, I think everybody who thinks it's a possibility should be doing it.
Yeah.
Adam, have you had a lot of interest in it so far?
There has been. Ever since we started this process back in February, I believe, or January, as a core volunteer group, to where we are now, I think as of this morning, we have 113 kilowatts of committed installations.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're extremely impressed with the receptiveness of both the Williamstown and the North Adams communities. And I feel like it's just building on this momentum as we move forward.
And how long will this round sort of go that people can become involved in it?
Officially, the program will begin to sunset in December. And I think that beyond that point is going to be determined through the CEC and how we end up close out the program. But as per the contract, at December 31st is when the program stops. Yes.
All right. So if anybody is interested in getting solar on their home, to find out how they can do it, we suggest that you do it within the next few months and contact either Susan or Adams, and we will provide you with the email that you can get in touch with them. And thank you so much for coming today. It was very informative, and I hope more people get solar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tammy, and thanks to Solarize Mass for that information. You had an idea for our viewers out there, Markel.
I did. So I was out and about in Berkshire County, and I found this really nice photo that I took on my phone, my camera, and I thought that it was just worth sharing. So I had the idea that maybe we could have our viewers submit some of their photos that they take around Berkshire County, especially this time of year with the foliage blooming. So we encourage our viewers to submit your personal photos of anything that you see around Berkshire County that you think is worth sharing.
It is an incredible time of year. Not only have fall foliage coming up, but then, of course, the holidays lends itself to that as well.
I fell on the court while I was training. I broke my wrist. What was going to happen to me? Would I ever be able to play tennis again? Would I recover fully? I went immediately to Southwestern Vermont Medical Center.
When Deb first came to the office, she had a lot of anxiety. It was clear just from the x-rays that she would require surgery to help correct the fracture.
With all the hard work and the great care that I got from Dr. Nankum, I'm back. Partnership is powerful medicine.
Wabeka head professional Eric Teal will make his first appearance in the 31st Senior PGA Professional Championship held in Austin, Texas. The 50-year-old pro won his right to compete in a playoff at the Northeastern New York Sectional Championship in July at the Edison Club in Rexford, New York, but not before he found himself in a four-way tie for first with 2 tickets up for grabs to go to Austin. Teal defeated his opponent, Pete Gerard of Latham, New York, and will compete Thursday, October 3rd for round 1 of the Senior Championship.
And we want to wish Eric Teal, of course, best of luck this week down in Austin, Texas.
All of us here at Berkshire County.
Red Apple Butchers has returned to Crawford Square. The butcher shop and deli offers prime cuts of meat and specialty sandwiches. The shop lasted only 4 months in its previous iteration, but this time owner Jazu Stein thinks things will be different. He will be pairing with Luke Marion of Autos and Berkshire Organics. Red Apple Butchers will be open Monday to Friday from 7 to 5.
Clarksburg is working to revive its Council on Aging and Senior Center. The Select Board has taken over operations for the center, hoping to transform it into a community center open to all. The COA, which has had a decline in members, has seen an influx in interest from younger seniors. It hopes to present new names to the Select Board soon.
It will be a busy Friday night in local football. Wacona hosts Putnam, Lee welcomes Mahar, and Taconic will face Amherst at Berkshire Community College, while Hoosick Valley travels to Ware and Drury visits Pathfinder. McCann is the only local team in action Saturday as they'll travel to Mohawk.
Thank you to our viewers for your support of iBerkshires TV, as well as to our special guests.
We'd again like to say a special thank you to Southern Vermont Medical Center for being our sponsor of this week's show.
Please join us again on our next episode of iBerkshires TV for your local news, interviews, and more.